Welcome back to another episode of Quick Strikes, where we take a look at the game that was. I am your host, Michael Wax. I am joined, as always, by my co-host Jake Ricker and Philip Wunderlich. How are you doing, guys?
Well,
Um,
I'm doing as good as I can be after a Lightning loss to the Boston Bruins.
yeah, and this is pretty rough for what I saw. We'll get into it later, but I think we played pretty rough, honestly.
There were definitely differing opinions in the fan base, especially if you go on social media. But we'll get into the game right here. But you're exactly right. They did start off a little bit rough in the first period. There wasn't a lot of scoring in the first couple of minutes in the first period. A lot of physicality, but overall, I think the teams did a good job of measuring themselves out. And then just before the last minute of the first period, Charlie Coyle gets a deflection goal in front of a Brandon Carlo shot. Coyle's third of the playoffs, nothing Vasilevsky can do, and it's 1-0 Bruins.
Yeah, this is a really good deflection by Charlie Coyle. It was a puck up in the air, it's basically a baseball hit. It was an impressive shot. Nothing, like you said, nothing bad you could do about that. You could argue that somebody should have been there to cover Coyle, so he didn't have that much time really to make that deflection. But at the end of the day, you got to give credit where credit is due. This was a really good goal by the Bruins, and they go up 1-0, rightfully so.
Yeah, Charlie Coyle was right in front of the net like he always is, and the deflection type of goal was impressive. And like you said, that leaves 1-0.
Yeah, so as we entered the final minute of the first and the beginning of the second period, it looked like the Lightning were starting to get their legs back under them. They did play extremely well throughout the second period, but before they started to play extremely well, they were not really doing so well. Took a penalty, and of course they got scored on because Boston power play is really good. David Pastrnak feeding off of a David Krejci cross-crease pass. Krejci's 7th assist of the playoffs and Pasternak's 2nd goal. Krejci is probably the best playoff Bruin. I think I'm going to say it.
Yeah, I mean, probably he's been really good for the Bruins, especially this postseason. But you're right. I want to go back to something you mentioned. The Lightning did start playing a lot better towards the end of that first period. We started to see the tides turn. In this second period, despite Boston getting the goal, they played well in the second period. This was the best period they played this entire game.
Yeah, I agree with some of that. I still think that was a little bit sloppy, but on the whole, I do agree with you, Mike. We're saying that David Krejci is a really good playoff performer, so that's going to be a standout there. I don't think we really turned it on until the end of the second, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, I mean, you look at the shot totals, and they're definitely inflated. It was an 18-7 shot advantage in the second period for the Lightning. So they did a lot of good jobs of getting pucks on net. I think Yaroslav Halak was definitely the Bruins MVP in this game, specifically in that second period when he allowed no goals on those 18 shots. He was spectacular.
Yeah, Halak was amazing in this game. He played really well. I mean, if it wasn't for Halak, the Lightning could have easily had a couple of goals, and we'll also get to that more in the third period. But I think they played well in the second period. I really thought they came out. They had pressure for most of the time in that second period. Now the power play is what ended up killing them. I mean, that's a great play by Boston on the power play. Nothing Bassey can do on that. But overall, when you're getting lots of offensive zone time and a goalie's just playing better, there's nothing you can do about that. So
yeah, so we entered the third period after that hellacious second period with the Boston Bruins fending off the storm of the Lightning, and the Lightning looked really, really good to start that third period off. They looked just as good as they did in Game 5 against Columbus, and then Ryan McDoughna turns the puck over in the defensive zone. Patrice Bergeron with a Selke-type play, getting it off his stick, but that's a turnover you just can't make. Gets it over to Pastrnak, gets it over to Marchand with a wide-open net. They called him the perfection line. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but that play was perfection.
Yeah, it was a really good play, and it sucked to see McDoughna turn that puck over, and that's what that led to the goal. Another goal that Bassey just can't stop. Nothing you can do about that. Marchand was in the right place at the right time. This goal is the one that bothered me the most, and the reason being is because, well, not only were the Lightning now down 3-0, but they then zoomed in on Marchand's beautiful face, which just rubbed more salt in the wound at this point. But again, also you said the Lightning were playing good; they were playing well. In this third period, it was a little bit of a slow start in the third, but even after this goal, they started playing well, which we'll get to. But it was frustrating because Lightning had chance after chance, but Halak just standing on his head for a lot of this game. It almost felt like Corpusalo was back in this game again. It's like we really have to face a good goaltender every single time. And credit to him, he's played amazing since he came in for Ras. So, and we talked about this in the preview. He's a big part of this team, and he's going to be a difference maker in this series.
Yeah, Halak has been a good goaltender for a long time. I mean, he was pretty good when he was on the Islanders too, and so I mean, you kind of expect that, like you guys were saying in the pre, I don't know what to call it, like pre-game or so. But you guys really explained it well. That he's been a good goaltender for a long time, and that's what really bothers me too. Like you said, seeing Marchand having a good game like he had today, I can't stand the guy anyways, but seeing that, it's really upsetting.
Yeah, we all love the rat Brad Marchand, but the Lightning did get one back. They ended up getting two back, but the first goal that they got back was from Victor Hedman. He ended up getting a pretty nice feed from Braden Point that ended up going off a stick right to Hedman. Hedman just wired it towards the net. Good things happen when you just shoot the puck towards the net. Off of Charlie McAvoy into the net, and the Lightning had life.
Yeah, can we just talk about Victor Hedman here for a second, by the way? I mean, he was so impressive in this game, and he has continued to be throughout these playoffs. But Victor Hedman constantly playing top minutes. He looked so good, and he got this puck in the back of the net. And even though this was just a simple shot, as you said, Michael, put pucks on net, and you're going to get goals. So great job by Victor Hedman, and this gave the Lightning a little bit of life here again. They were kind of losing a little bit of steam here toward the end of the third period, and this goal helped out a lot.
Yeah, Victor Hedman is another player that really had a really good game. He blocked the shot. He was the one that scored the first goal. So I mean, it's huge the way he's played, especially in this game. I mean, really putting the team on his back. So that was good.
Yeah, and then towards the middle part of that frame, you saw the Lightning pressure Halak as much as they could. He made a tremendous stop on Barclay Goodrow on this weird little passing play that involved Kucherov and Point and McDoughna and Shattenkirk, and it was a weird different line change sort of thing, but he made a fantastic stop on Barclay Goodrow. He was really, really good. And then the Lightning pulled a goalie, and Victor Hedman got another one off of Charlie McAvoy. So I now know that is now a false hope goal that really gave Lightning fans the idea that, hey, we can come back in this one. But at the time, they were playing really well with 6-on-5. And one thing that I noticed, and before you guys get into that goal, was they played really well 4-on-4, and they played really well 6-on-5. But they did not play well 4-on-5. So, or 5-on-4, I should say. So, something to look out for.
Yeah, and we talked about Victor Hedman already, and this was a similar shot to that first goal where he just kind of threw it towards the net with traffic in front, and it got in the net. It was a great job. I also want to mention too, you mentioned that save on Barclay Goodrow. I mean, I could not believe that puck didn't go in the net, and that play shows how this game went, because you don't get those kind of opportunities when you're not playing a good game. The Lightning had pressure and got great chances. That's a perfect example. But Halak was just better. Michael, you mentioned this a couple of times on the Twitter feed while you were covering the game. The Lightning played good, but Halak was just better. And that's how it goes sometimes in these games. Goalies can steal games. Now, I don't know if I'd say Halak was completely the reason the Bruins won this game, because they did a lot of things too that helped them win this game, obviously. But Halak was huge, and it was nice to get this goal though. But as soon as I saw it, you mentioned the false hope goal, I said, here we go again. Are they really going to do this to me? Are we really going to have to go through this? It's getting so close to tying it up, and unfortunately, that's the way it ended. But
Yeah, it's upsetting. Like you said, it's kind of a false hope goal. It furthers my point though in saying that Victor Hedman did have a really good game, and if anything you're going to pull out of it, it's going to be his performance in this one.
Yeah, so again, like we said, that was the final goal of the game. The Lightning did not have the opportunity to tie it up. The Bruins did a really good job of making sure that the play was more in the Lightning zone towards the end of the game, and it ended with a 3-2 Boston victory. Now, before we get to our positives and our negatives, I want to ask a very simple question that I feel that a lot of Lightning Twitter is asking, and a lot of Lightning fans are asking themselves. Is Game 2 a must-win?
It's funny. People will call a lot of games must wins, even though technically, if you define a must win isn't until you're down 3 games. But um, it's tough. I didn't think it was a must win at first when you had first said it to me earlier in the call. But the thing is, we're playing a back to back in games 2 and 3. So if you go down 2-0 and then have to come on a back to back, that's tough. And even though they're not traveling here in the bubble, you're still playing in a back to back. Back to backs are always tougher games. So you're definitely going to want to tie this series up 1-1. So yes, technically I would call it a must win. I mean, obviously it's not essential for them to win it. They're not going to be out if they don't win, and they can still come back and win this series. But I think because of the back to back, that changes the importance of game 2.
I Yeah, I agree with you, Jake. I kind of feel like every game in the playoffs is almost a must win. I mean, I know you have 7 games within it, but at the same time, you don't know how the momentum's going to swing and stuff like that. So having so little games in the playoffs, it's really hard to come back, even if you're down 1 game sometimes. So I think we have to, kind of even it out. And like Jake said, it's hard to come back to backs, especially in the playoffs. So if you have um, you know, I don't know how they're going to do it, but I don't know if McElhinney's going to come in or something like that. But um, it's going to be really difficult, especially if we have another game with going 5 overtimes.
I mean, hopefully we don't have one of those games. I stayed up for the first one. I don't want to have to cover a second one.
I won't see.
Uh, so some solace for Lightning fans. Again, we're only down 1 game, and in 2018, I know it was a much different time. It was only 2 years ago, but we were down 1-0 in that series. We lost the first game 6-2, so it was actually worse. And they won in 5 games. So I understand what you guys are saying. You never want to be down in the series, but again, this series is not over, not even close. So
Right. Yeah, but it's not over. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but it's not over by any means. You're absolutely right, 100% on that. And again, the Lightning did not play a bad game. They outshot the Bruins at the end of the day too. So there's a lot of positives to take away from this game. They look good. They did. I mean, you can't get off to bad starts, and we'll get to what ultimately killed them in this game. But it wasn't like they got killed 8-0 like or something like that. They played a good second. They played a good third with a couple of issues, and those can be ironed out and those can be fixed. And this team will. And what I was going to say too is I know I picked the Lightning in 4. That was me being a Lightning fan and hoping with a dream. But obviously, we know this is going to be a long series. This will more than likely go 6-7 games. So it's going to be a long road. It's going to be a battle. And from what I saw in this first game, I'm not overly worried yet. And there's no reason to be now.
Yeah, I agree. I said it's going to go in 7 too. So, and we all know it's going to be a long series. Jake was, Jake was being the diehard Lightning fan that he is, and that's what comes up with. But it's going to be a long one.
yeah, so I know you mentioned positives in that one, and smooth transition. Let's go over to our positives and negatives. We'll start with you, Phil.
My positive is going to be Victor Hedman. I mentioned it a few times already. He had a really good game tonight. Like I said, he kind of saved the game with a couple block shots. He got the Lightning on the board 2 times. And I feel like if he continues playing the way he did, he's going to have a really good series against the Boston Bruins. And my negative, unfortunately, is going to be the way that they played in the first half of the game. I don't think that, the way that they played in that first half is going to be the way that they're going to continue to play. But at the same time, You can't be playing like that, especially a team that's going to be as difficult to play as it's Boston.
Yeah, and my positive for this game is Andre Vasilevsky. Vasi was huge in this series. Despite 3 goals, I'm pretty sure all those goals were basically impossible shots for him to stop. None of them were his fault to me at all. So, and he made some jaw-dropping saves again here. I mean, there were a couple where he did his classic stretching all the way out, and you're just sitting there going, "How can a human possibly stretch that much?" Once again, he was overshadowed by Halak's game, but he played amazing. Uh, my negative is it's got to be the power play on this one because it's so obvious that it's struggling with not having Stamkos there. I don't know what it is, but that the first power play was bad because I don't think they even had a shot on goal in that first power play. The second one was better. It was a lot better. They got a lot of opportunities in that one, so that one was okay. But the third one went right back to where the first one was and wasn't playing well. And in a game like this where you're playing against Boston, it's going to be a long series. You're going to need these power play goals to come through. This isn't like Columbus. This is a very different series. So power play's got to get better. I really hope Stamkos can come back soon. I know we don't know what the deal with him is because they're being so quiet about it, but power play needs to change.
Yeah, and you mentioned Andre Vasilevsky. Not only his saves, but his body slam early in the third was definitely a highlight reel moment. For my positive, I'm gonna go with. Let's see. You already went with Victor Hedman, so I I gotta commend that third line. They were really good again. They got in Boston's face again. They were